Welcome back to the Ergo2go Podcast, brought to you by the Back School and Ability on Demand. I'm your host, Matt Jeffs. This is segment 3 with our guest here. We bring you interesting people from the world of ergonomics, on-site injury prevention, health, safety, well-being, and much, much more. Don't forget to subscribe below and click on the little bell in the upper right-hand corner to get the latest information in the world of ergonomics, healthcare, health and safety, and human resource fields right here on the Ergo2go podcast. Today, we've been speaking, and this is our third installment, with the co-founder of PTLiveChat.com. He's also co-founder of PT Live itself. He's as well as the host of the Telehealth 20 podcast. You'll see him on YouTube. You'll see him on Instagram. You'll see him on Facebook. You'll see him on LinkedIn and more. Welcome back, Rob Vining. It's good to have you back on the program here.
Yeah, always good, man. This is a great conversation.
I love it. I love it. I especially appreciated the last segment as you broke down into the nuts and bolts of the MDT method and how that just seems to work so well with the telehealth format, which itself works so well with your rich history of blending your field of physical therapy with your love of technology. It seems like all of this stuff is falling together, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It really is. And if you would have asked me this last year, if we would have all these groups, all these meetings, all this interest, it just wasn't there. And I think the thing that happened was, I don't know if it was a meeting of the minds or just everybody stumbling onto it all at once.
Yeah.
But the fact that we were there, it just seemed to attract everybody, and it's just been growing like a hockey stick in these groups. And the more that I look out, the more that I search for telehealth, the more that I'm finding people are jumping into the category of using technology to expand their practice or expand their company. You know, you have big companies that are trying to step into this space as well now.
Right.
And we know that it's going to be paid for in the future by insurance. Now, granted, good thing, bad thing. It's kind of a double-edged sword there.
Right.
But when insurance says okay to something, it seems like that is the starting gun for people to really look into innovations. And that's happened recently to a point where the VA just went, you know what? Forget all this stuff. We're going to not even give ourselves a limitation of state lines. We're going to let our professionals see our VA vets across state lines using telehealth because they need the treatment. And that's the thing that I think really shocked a bunch of people. And it's the way that we need to go in the future. And it's full steam ahead from here on out.
There's no doubt. You know, for those consumers and clinicians who might be a little frightened and think, oh my gosh, how is that going to help me with, from a clinician's perspective, make my rent on my bricks and mortar clinic? Or from the consumer, I don't want to just see somebody on a screen. I think it would be safe to say we're going to see a blending, a hybrid somewhere between those two. Is that a good assumption?
Yeah. I think that hybrid approach is massive, because I'm not saying that you can treat everything at once using telehealth, because honestly, you can't. And I've seen patients that walk in and, you know, within the first 5 minutes, they're explaining to me about their symptoms and what they've had and what they've tried and their imaging. And I just throw the brakes on and say, look, I think you're going to be best suited for an in-clinic plan of care.
Right.
And they just kind of looked at me with deer in the headlights, and I give them their money back, full refund, because I didn't treat them. I didn't help them. And what I do is I coordinate that care with a brick and mortar clinic that is close. And also, you know, I'll ask them if they've actually used other clinics around, because I don't want to just send them back to the same clinic they've been to. That's why they were looking for somebody else in the first place. So I make sure to coordinate that care, and it really does two great things. Number one, it gets the patient to where they actually need to be in the safest, most efficient environment. And number two, it actually opens the eyes of that clinic owner that I'm referring a patient to that had no idea that telehealth physical therapy was a thing. And it opens their eyes to the expansion way beyond their geographical limitation that their clinic is in right now, because nobody's going to really drive to their clinic more than 60 miles away.
Right.
So.
You know, and when I mentioned hybrid, there's a bunch of different ways to slice that. We could be talking about frequency. We could be talking about duration. So as you're describing the example you gave, I'm thinking as well as we can see you once a week in the clinic and twice a week on telehealth, or some permutation in between. There's a frequency example. We could think of a duration example and say, well, we might see you the first week or two in the clinic and then advance you to a telehealth over the last 2 weeks of your prescription. And there's just so many ways you could address this, isn't it?
Yeah,
Aren't
absolutely.
there?
Yeah, it's similar to Domino's and Pizza Hut. I mean, I've thrown that out there before, but Pizza Hut used to be the thing. That was the place to go get pizza, and it was a dine-in facility. And then Domino's came along, and they said, you know what? We're going to deliver it to your house. And Pizza Hut had to play catch up, and they just got overtaken this year by Domino's, because Domino's was always on the cutting edge, was always offering more opportunities for ways to consume their product. And that's what I think a lot of these brick and mortar clinic owners, they have to see themselves as either on the cutting edge and providing what the patients need, or they're going to be really, stuck in their ways, and they're going to lose market share to those people that are expanding and using technology to grab those patients that need a combination of, in clinic and telehealth, or strictly telehealth, or one visit of in clinic evaluation, and then the rest are all telehealth. So it's providing the options of services versus being stuck in the way that it's always been, just because it's always been that way. That creates a quick death for companies.
No doubt. No doubt. As you're mentioning that, again, you spur so much thought in the way you convey this. And as you're speaking that, I'm thinking about the takeout to go businesses and the existing bricks and mortar kitchen. I knew a fellow who did that in a college town, and he had a successful business with the takeout to go. And what benefit it was to the existing kitchen was, hey, you've got your staff there. They're slinging the meals in the in-house dining room, but you could also have that existing kitchen just firing off takeout orders from people in the community. So it almost sounds like that's what you're describing.
Yeah, exactly. And
that's really cool.
It's simply meeting the patients where they're at. So if they need something, provide it for them.
Yeah.
If they need you, good Lord, just be happy that they need you, and then meet them where they want to be met. And that way, word of mouth will spread so much faster. Your marketing will shrink. Because now, Susie, who you saw for one in-clinic eval and 4 telehealth sessions, and she got completely better, achieved all her goals. Do you think she's going to be quiet about that? No. In this day and age, she's going to tell everybody. She's going to post it on Facebook. She's going to post it on social media. You're now the rock star because you met that patient where she needed you to meet her.
Right.
Online, in the clinic, you have to adjust, or you're going to that slow march of death. It's going to be faster than you think.
My place in the past 10, 15 years has been in the industrial and corporate world. And I just see these applications for employers just exploding because, again, having done on-site, years of on-site, being the primary physical therapist at a big plant with 1,300 employees, that's wonderful. Don't get me wrong. But there's a certain amount of that could also be done on the telehealth platform effectively. So I could see where employers get on board with this as well.
Oh, yeah. And it's interesting to actually see the sticking points. I've listened to a recent audiobook just expanding on telehealth itself. And that was, in the last couple of days, I've been just digesting this book. And it talks about the biggest barrier to entry is usually the brokers of insurance who get paid for expensive plans. Right. And so with telehealth, it's so efficient. And it also creates a barrier because you have to teach your employees how to utilize a telehealth service, which will decrease the expenditure for the employee, but it cuts the pay that the broker may receive. So it's this weird conflict of interest where insurance wants to look progressive, but they just kind of throw on a telehealth edition, but then don't train anybody how to use it to truly cut down costs.
And then they can effectively say it didn't work when in
Yes.
fact they didn't do the heavy lifting that's necessary just to get the thing off the ground properly.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's almost best to have a third party introduce it versus having it as an add-on rider for an insurance plan.
I think you're going to have to see the big self-insureds get involved, the household name brands that have tens of thousands of employees, and they're the ones who have skin in the game.
Yeah.
They might use a third-party administrator. That's not uncommon, but you're going to need those brand name companies stepping forward, like those three that are joining forces right now and hired Atul Gawande to be their medical director. They're going to be the ones that are going to show the usability here, the scalability and the adaptability of this kind of platform.
Right. Yeah. We're going to have Amazon doing quite amazing things in the future.
I agree. Rob, gosh, we could go on and on. We got to do this again, my friend. Would it be okay?
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, this isn't a one and done with you. We've got to have you back because your depth and breadth of knowledge in this area is second to none in my humble opinion. And also, as we've both just been astonished, the rate of change is accelerating. It's not only the change is accelerating, but the rate is actually accelerating. So I know just in weeks and months, we'll have more to discuss. So I hope I can have you back.
Absolutely, man. More than happy to do it.
It's so great to have you again, Rob, and thank you for joining us on the Ergo2go podcast.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Excellent. You've been listening and watching the Ergo2go podcast. I'm your host, Matt Jeffs, brought to you by the Back School and Ability on Demand. We bring you interesting people like Rob Vining, people from the world of ergonomics, on-site injury prevention, health, safety, well-being, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe below and click on the little bell in the upper right-hand corner to get the latest info in the ergonomics, healthcare, health and safety, and human resource fields right here on the Ergo2go podcast. And by the way, do check out PT Live, and the Telehealth 20 podcast. Rob's all over these, and he's somebody I would highly recommend you stay in contact with. Until next time, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you. Be safe. Bye-bye.